Hi Flosstube, my name is Mary and I am a Mary Stitcher here on YouTube and also on Instagram. Today is Sunday, it's December the 7th. I can't believe we're this far into December already, but we are. This is my channel about cross stitch and I welcome you and hope that you'll subscribe and stop back by whenever I have new content up for you. Today we're going to get started with a couple of FFOs. Now, FFOs, if you're newer, stand for fully finished objects. That's when you take a piece of cross stitching and you put it into something you can hang on the wall, display on a shelf, give as a gift. It's a completed piece from start to finish. So the first one that I have to show you is this little pillow. Now, this is I Love Fall Most of All by Brenda Gervais of With Thy Needle and Thread. Now, I stitched this one on 20 count Aida in the color Saturn, and this is from Bestitch Me. I used my own floss colors for my collection, just picking things that went well with the fabric that I chose. And I've done it in a little pillow because I did the 20 count, which is the equivalent of stitching on 40 count linen. This came out nice and small and it'll be nice for me to be able to tuck it in on a shelf. I just backed it with some fallish flowers and there it is, With Thy Needle and Thread. I love fall. So that is number one. So I'll put that over here. The next one, also a pillow finish, is Strutting Tom. Now this chart is from Stephanie Webb of Lindy Stitches, and while we're on the subject of Lindy Stitches, today and this weekend has been the Jingle Ball, which is an annual online retreat that Steph does, and she's got a whole team of elves that help her put it together. There's a dozen designers who are also involved and have special charts. They've been teaching classes. It's a thing that's been done for a number of years now, and it's growing every year. It seems there's more and more people, and the classes get more and more interesting as time goes by. So it's a great thing to do. It's not too late to get a ticket to get in today. Now, the classes are pretty much, they're all done. You can't sign up for a class at this point, but you can definitely still get into the stitching rooms. There's a ton of content in the main stage where there are stories being read, and I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard there was an update to Stitcher's Yoga, which was a big hit in previous years. So when we're talking about Steph Webb, she is busy this weekend, but this design, Strutting Tom, is one of hers. It's been around for a few years. I love it. Now, I tweaked the colors a little bit because I was doing this on a fairly light fabric, and I wanted the colors to show out a certain way. So these, again, are just flosses from my own collection, all different makers. Some DMC, some's going to be overdyed. But again, I put it on, I stitched it with some fallish fabric, stitched some rickrack on it, and this was one of my little Thanksgiving stitches. But since I did not get to record in November, you're going to get in December. That's the way it is. Anyway, I also have an FO, which is what I call a stitch finish. That means I've finished all the stitching that's required. I just haven't framed or finished it in a way that it's ready for use. But the chart that I'm talking about, and boy am I celebrating this one, this is my oldest whip at the time I finished it. I finished it actually on October 5th, I think. Gosh, it's been a long time since I recorded. And that is M.H. Smith 1890. This is a Bristol sampler. The chart is by Dutch Treat Designs, and I took some liberties and shuffled some things around on this chart, and you'll see it when I hold up the other one. And those of you who have been here with me, you know this one's been a long time coming, so I'm super excited to finally have it done. And I look forward to getting it framed and hanging it up, because I think everybody should, I'm going to say should try a Bristol sampler at some point in time. There's a ton of them, large and small. This one happened to be pretty large, but I made it smaller because you can do that. Anyway, what I did is I didn't do quite as many alphabets as they had here because there were a couple that were so similar they were a little bit redundant. So I left off 3 or 4 of the alphabets, but it still left me with plenty of alphabets and numbers. I moved the flowers and the squirrel to be on opposing sides of the deal instead of above and beneath each other. And then I chose my favorite of the bands and did those on the middle section. So I only stitched as many bands as would fit in one set. Now, the name of the girl who stitched this in the orphanage was M.H. Smith. I was born an M.H. Smith myself, so I thought, okay, that's great. What I did, I'll show it now, let's see, is I put, here we go. This is my stitched piece. I think I've got it back here far enough, but there she is. And if you can see the names at the bottom, I put M.H. Smith 1890 on one side, and then on the other side I put M.H. Smith Peterson, which is me, and the year of completion 2025. So I was able to include the girl's name, and it just ties the two of us together. But that's my Bristol. Finally finished. I started it in 2021, I believe. When did I start that? There we go. I wrote it down. Yes, August 1st of 2021 is when I started it, and I finished it October 5th of 2025. Took a little time, but that's okay. I'm really thrilled to have it done. Now I also have one new start since my last Flosstube, and anybody who's been following me along knows that this year I've been trying very much to go back and pull forward some of my oldest whips to bring them to completion. And as a result of doing that and focusing on that, I haven't had very many new starts this year, which is a bummer, but it does make me feel good when I get some of the older ones done. The one new start that I did have, and this was for the Which Will You Stitch, Sal, and I confess that I can't for the life of me think of the name of the gals who started it, but I jumped in on the which, and my which stitch was from, I believe this is pronounced Nimue. I could be wrong. Absolutely could be wrong. But this one's called Brig and Dune. And whoops, there we go. That's a little better. Get the glare off of there. But it's a small chart. It's really cute. A couple of witches and some bats. And the first time that I saw this one being stitched was by Jessie Marie of Jessie Marie Does Stuff. She, I think, has this either completed or as a whip. And I just thought it was really a cute spin on a witch chart. Again, this is the new start, and I started that on, let's see, what was my fabric? It's an Aida, and I have a pitiful tiny teeny start. There it is. That's how far I got before I went back to working on the old ones. And you can see that this is the blue checkerboard in this witch's skirt. So I'm just getting started on that. So there you go. And the Aida is, I'm sure, a 20 count. Let's see if I can find a tag on this one. Ah, yes, here we go. Oh, I lied. It's 18 count Wren Aida from Picture This Plus. So there we go. 18 count Wren. Oh, sure. Glare. There we go. So 18 count Wren and this little Nimue witch chart, which I look forward to getting back to. But honestly, I just wanted to jump in on the Sal, celebrate that, and then I went right back to stitching on existing pieces. Alrighty, so that is completions and new starts. So now we come to whips. Whips are works in progress, and I think I have about 22 whips right now, which isn't too bad. But again, they're spread over a pretty broad period of time, and I need to reel in some of those older ones so that I can feel comfortable about new starts. The next one I have, my oldest current whip, is from Jacob DeGraff at Modern Folk Embroidery. It's PDF, so pardon my kind of simple little copy here, just printed off when I downloaded the chart. But this was Jacob's 2020 stitch along. I didn't hear about it or see it until later on when I saw Sarah of Sew Me Sarah had finished hers. She did hers in red. It was so pretty, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I need to get that right away. So I ran and ordered the PDF because it was just so beautiful. Now, when you see how far I've come since the last time I stitched this, I've done quite a bit of stitching. I've made my way across the bottom. I finished the interior of this, which had not been done previously, and I've gotten the first house block done of the two larger ones up in the center. And when you see mine, you'll notice that it looks a little different than this. I'll show this up a little closer. I retooled and recharted the house to look like a house that our family owns, and we're getting ready to kick into gear on restoring it. So we figured we'd put that on here. And when the time comes, this other house here, I'm going to put the house that we lived for 12 years in Texas. I've recharted that to put over here so that the houses will have meaning for us. And one of the little cottages, this little cottage down here, I had already changed to look like a cottage that we own here in the town we live in. So it'll be a lot of fun. My goal has been to get this one finished. My original goal this year was to get the Bristol finished, which I was able to do, and I'm thrilled to say that the first thing I did was, okay, let's see what else I can finish. And sure enough, this was the next oldest whip, and I am going to make it because I really only have, as of now, this last house and then filling in the initials of our family members. And then this one should be done by the end of the year, unless something happens and I get slowed down. So let's see what we've got here. Here is my progress, which, like I say, if you haven't seen this in a while, which you haven't, there we go. So that is my family patchwork, which is the name of the chart, but I've already put my name on. I have my little bit of superstition about putting the year in. I've only got 202 on there, so I'll fill in the 5 when I'm actually done when I'm actually done with the piece. But there it is. And this one is being done, oh gosh, I have to remember now. Let's see. It is Winter White by Seraphim is the fabric. It's the linen, and it's a 40 count Winter White by Seraphim. The silk that I used is called Finnegan's Fog, and it's from Silk and Colors. So Silk and Colors, Finnegan's Fog is the silk, and you can see it runs through teal and blue and a little bit of brown. My colors aren't showing as true as I'd like them to, but it's a wonderful variegated silk from Silk and Colors, and I just absolutely love it. It's been a joy to stitch with. Oh, and I've got my little Jacob needle minder on there. So, alrighty, so that is my current oldest whip, which should be done hopefully in about the next week. We'll see whether that comes to pass or not. Let me see, my next one. You can tell that I didn't film through the end of October or into November because you'll see some Halloween stitching here. But that's okay, I'm just getting caught up. This next one is from Luminous Fiber Arts, and it's called Enchanted Quaker. And when I hold it up, you'll see that I've managed to get, I think I've gotten from side to side. Yeah, I got all the way over to this side. So I'm sort of across the bottom, and then now I just have to finish the top when I get back to this one. But this is by Misty Purcell of Luminous Fiber Arts, and it is Enchanted Quaker. I'm doing it on a 20 count Aida. Whoops, oh my gracious, there we go. Sorry. I'm stitching it on a 20 count Aida, and it is called Da Vinci. And this one is so pretty. I love the purple color. And for my silk, I used, and this is 18 count Da Vinci. So that is here. And the floss that I'm using, the silk, is called, oh sure, there we go, Old Maid of the Abyss. And this is from Vicki Clayton of Hand Dyed Fibers, HDF Silks. And you can see it's black with a little bit of purple in the silk. And it's just, Vicki Clayton silks are just a dream to stitch with. They are shiny and the hand is good. The color, they take color great. I really am very fond of Vicki's silks, and you'll see them in a lot of my pieces. But again, you can see that I'm top to bottom on this side here. So this is the true top, and then the pumpkin on the bottom is the bottom. And then this is a partial Quaker motif down here on the bottom. But so we've got the full side to side frame, and you can see on this side we have the full top to bottom. So I'm not quite halfway, but I have a good, better start on things. And I just think this was really a sweet Quaker for Halloween. It's cute. It's not super spooky, which I'm into fun Halloween more so than super spooky. But this was just great. I liked the size of it. I like the vibe of it. So I would suggest that if you want to go take a look at Misty's chart for this one and her other charts. She loves a lot of retro Halloween and retro Christmas. She's very good at designs like that, so it's worth checking into. Another Halloween stitch that I did and was working on was Halloween Hijinks by Carolyn Manning. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I tend to take liberties with my charts, and I'm not afraid to scramble a few eggs, as it were. This is a terrific chart, but I also knew that if I had to stitch all those little boxes, I might never finish. So, because there's always some squirrel coming my way, and I always want to, run off to the next new thing. But what I decided to do, because I really like the chart a lot, is I thought, okay, what can I do to make this work for me? So I literally printed out the cover of the chart, and I cut and paste. I just Frankensteined it. So I can show this to you, because this is not a pattern. This is just my reimagining of the piece that's just a little bit smaller. So what I did was I took a number of some of the designs that were a little more muted, or maybe they were just a pattern and not so much like a little character, or here this one's like a candy corn. So what I decided to do was just pick my favorites among all the body, and I kept the design in a square. I kept the little pumpkins on the corners, and all this border is essentially the same. It's just a little smaller. And then I put it on 20 count Aida. So it is just white Aida. So this is basically, where am I going here? Guess I'll get it, hang it right up. There we go. That's the right orientation. So that's basically the difference. Now I know they look very similar in size, but this is a larger version than this. So really, I always encourage people, if a design is almost perfect, see if there's a way you can make it perfect for you. And that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect for everybody else. There are a lot of people who get very nervous about making color changes, stitching on a different fabric than what the designer has envisioned. But the reality is, I'm doing this to have in my house, and although I would love to meet Carolyn Manning, I don't think I'm going to meet her in my living room. And so I don't think that it's a problem, that it will not be her exact vision. I wanted my vision of her fantastic design. So I just edited a little bit, and now it fits what I want. And the way that the stitching actually looks, I suppose if I show the stitching, it'll be much more impactful. Here we go. this is where I am. And you can, ooh, little light shift, but you can see the design is so colorful and so pretty. And what I'm going to do, haven't yet done it on this one, is things like the little ghost. Any place where there's a ghost in the design, I'm going to use glow-in-the-dark white floss, so that the ghosts, not everything that's white, not all the little cones here, but like the legit ghost blocks, I'm going to do with a glow-in-the-dark floss just for fun. And again, it's always okay to experiment. It's always okay to change a color here and there. You know, there's a lot of people who stitch who don't like designs with purple in them. I myself, big purple fan, so that doesn't work for me. But again, make it the way you like it. It's your stitching. You shouldn't stitch with colors that don't make you happy. You shouldn't do more of a design than what you really want to see in the finished product. Edit like crazy. It's fun. It saves you some time so that you can move on to the next thing that you're excited about stitching. I think a lot of people feel like if they make a change, they're somehow dishonoring the designer, or if it's a reproduction sampler, that they're somehow dishonoring the original stitcher. It's my belief that probably those little girls, those little schoolgirls, would just be mind-boggled to know that anybody was restitching what they had stitched, much less repeating it stitch for stitch, including the mistakes. Now, I have a few charts where I've left the mistakes in because I thought they were very charming and I thought they really added something to the overall. So again, you are the boss of your stitching. Nobody else gets to make those decisions. So stitch it the way you want, in the colors you want, on the fabric you want. It's yours. Enjoy it. Okay, next. That's enough of my sermon. The next thing I've got is, oh, there we go. Gosh, I had to have notes today. It's been a little while since I've recorded. On January 1st of 2024, I joined another Modern Folk Embroidery SAL, and this was Jacob's SAL called No Time Like the Present. I adored this design from the minute I saw it, and Jacob was kind enough to do different renderings. There's this one which is in blue and red. On the back of the book, he's given different colors. It's always meant to be in two colors on these renderings. But as Jacob has said himself, stitch it monochromatically. If that's what floats your boat, go for it. Do it the way you want to do it. Now, what I did is I wanted a little bit more color, and the reason I did is because I didn't really want to have, I knew I was going to do it in blue and green, but I didn't want to have a green squirrel or a blue deer, or I really felt like I wanted the animals to be an animal color. So what I did is I used three colors. I used Gloriana's Northern Lights for the blue. I used Gloriana's Granny Smith Apple for the green. And then for things like the clock numbers, the moon phases around the clock, and the animals and the little sand in the hourglass, I went ahead and used Gloriana Hazelnut. So all three of the flosses are Gloriana Silk. I am stitching it on 40 count platinum by Zweigart. So that is the next one, which is No Time Like the Present. I apologize. I've also been working on this one as part of the stitch along that we had going with, oh my goodness gracious, Andrew, the runner stitcher. Gosh, I was losing his name for a minute. And he had his Whip into Shape SAL going on this summer and fall in anticipation of his marathon run, which, congratulations, he did a wonderful job and was able to run the New York Marathon not very long ago. So during Whip into Shape, I was able to get quite a bit more done on this. I did not get it finished, but you can see I'm getting close-ish. I had hoped I might finish this one before the end of the year, but I don't think so. I think I've got enough fill in and enough counting to do there that once I get my other my family patchwork done, I think I'm going to move on and finish a few smalls just to clear the decks a little bit. Anyway, that's plans. But you can see how the three colors really work nicely together, and I've got it side to side, and this little spire on the top here is just about, I'd say, a ½ inch from where the top border is. So I actually cut my fabric. Woo-hoo-hoo. Not so sure if that's ever a good idea. I've had some mishaps on that in the past, but I took my chances, trimmed the linen, and I'm off to the races. So that's that. The other, let's see, 2 more whips. Another whip is Lady Justice by Mirabilia, one of Nora Corbett's wonderful designs. And I love this one. I originally saw this one done in the called for colors by Pam of Pam and Steph, and I just loved it. I love the punchy colors. I know there are places on the internet that you can see where people have done recolors of this design. I think somebody did a red, white, and blue sort of a version of this. I just happen to like the contrast of these colors, this teal and this kind of an acid green, which is really pretty. So that is Lady Justice by Mirabilia. You'll see that I am not terribly far along, but I am doing it. I'm doing this on Color and Cotton 36 count white tea, which is really blowing out. That's a little truer to the color of the fabric. It's a very light fabric, but with real gentle kind of modeling in it, which I happen to like. And you can see that, here, I'll flip this around a little bit. When I hold you up next to this, you can see that I've got that, I started in the middle. I've got this little part of this, and there's some of her sash, and I'm just now getting to the beginnings of her dress. But you can see it's going to be really pretty on this fabric, and I'm excited to stitch on it some more. All right, one more whip. And this one, I haven't made huge progress on, but I did a whip go goal and stitched a little bit more. I love the design, but it's just not going as fast because, again, I've really diverted all of my energy this fall to the family patchwork once I finished the Bristol. So here we go. This is how far along I am on Autumn is Joyful. Here is the chart. And you can see, atypically, not typical for me, I actually started in the upper left, which I don't usually do, but I happen to do it this way. I usually start from the bottom, and truth be told, I still started from the bottom. I just flipped the chart upside down. So that way I could stitch in my preferred orientation, but I just thought, I'll do it this way. So I held it upside down. But you can see the colors are terrific. This one is by Leela's Studio. There's a whole series of these, and I think I have, I know I'm in pretty far along on Summer Quaker. This is the autumn version, which is Autumn is Joyful. I have the Peace on Earth, which I know there's recently a sale that's been started for that one. I'm not going to start it yet. I need to get a little more done before I feel good about starting a larger piece like that, because these pieces have a lot of stitching. They're wonderful. I love them. But again, trying to clear some old stuff, so I'm really keeping older whips as my focus pieces and trying to start fewer large ones till I get through the ones I've got a little bit better. So again, called for as far as the DMCs go for this one, and I'm using the DMCs because Leela Studio really makes wonderful use of DMC colors. They're terrific, and you get a really good color play on everything that she's doing. Now this one is on 18 count Picture This Plus Fawn, And what I've done so far with all of the ones of these I've started, and the ones I bought fabric for and haven't yet started, is to get 18 count Picture This Plus or 36 count Picture This Plus, because I want to consider swapping the mounted pieces out in a single frame seasonally, so that I don't know that I would necessarily have them all on the wall together. Although they would look lovely if you put them in a group of 4 and had the 4 seasons, that would be terrific also. I'm just trying to leave myself options, and since Picture This Plus tends to sometimes be a little bit tighter weave and therefore a little smaller, I wanted to make sure that all of them were stitched on Picture This Plus, which will mean that there's a better chance that they could all be set into the same frame if I just mount them on the mat board and then be able to slide them into the frame seasonally as their turn came around in the calendar. Okay, now the next thing that I have to talk about, I'm done with works in progress. I won't do too much on plans other than the fact that I am thinking about doing a 12 by 12 on New Year's Eve. Now, not like the Pam and Steph 12 by 12s, which are wonderful, and it's all online, and those are terrific. And starting a new chart every hour, or a new chart every hour for 6 hours, and then stitching a whip for the other, it's wonderful. But I think that what I might do is a Christmas ornament 12 by 12, because I have so many ornament patterns that I have wanted to stitch for so long, and frequently in December I get that kind of a vibe that so many stitchers do, where you just want to see, what can I finish, what can I bring across the finish line before the end of December. And so at this year, what I did is in mid-October I flung Whip Go out the window, and any other plans that I had were out the window, so that I could work on my oldest whips and try and drive for a finish on a couple of those. What I want to do for the 12 by 12 is kit up between now and New Year's Eve, kit up the ornaments, 12 of the ornaments that I want to stitch, the 12 that I want to stitch kind of the most. Maybe they're charts that I've had for a longer period of time. Who knows? I've got several seasons worth of Jingle Ball charts that from the little ornament books and that I really want to stitch, and I just haven't done them because I'm always busy getting that year-end push through. So what I've decided to do is start 12 ornaments on New Year's Eve, and I will document in Instagram what I'm starting, when I'm starting it, so if you want to follow along there. But I'm not going to do videos. I mean, me holding up a piece of fabric and saying, this is what I'm starting now, every hour sounds like people have other things to watch between that and the holiday, and no, not a good idea. So the next whip parade that I do after New Year's Day will then reflect the new things that I've started and a higher whip count, but hopefully, because they're ornaments, I'll be able to work through them. And my goal is each month that, to work one of the ones that I've started and make sure that I at least get stitch finishes on them. And I really would like to, ideally, each month finish one completely to the FFO stage, because then I would really feel like next Christmas they would be ready to put on the Christmas tree. And that's my goal, is to just have some of those charts cleared and the product that I can use on my Christmas tree. And that's another thing I'm thinking about for 2026, is focusing a little bit on Christmas stitching, mainly because I have a number of stockings that I want to stitch, and I feel as if if I start early enough in the year, I've got a fighting chance of bringing them across the finish line as long as I, budget my time for them. And as a result, I have thrown all thoughts of doing whip go or any other really challenge type stitching done. I'm just going to focus on what I want, which is to finish some of these holiday stitch pieces that I've got going. I have a number of things kitted up. I have some Prairie Schooler Santas, and like I say, I've got a ton of ornament charts. So I'm just really going to focus, I think, in 2026 on maybe getting some holiday stitching done. Not to the exclusion of anything else, but just to sort of not do as many challenges. And then what I'll do to decide on the other things that I stitch on is I'll just use something like the Tiny Decisions wheel on my other whips. Like I say, I don't have so many whips that I can't handle them just by, every week, let's push the decisions wheel, let it make up my mind for me, stitch on that for a week. And that way I don't have to worry about waiting for something to be drawn. If I have some extra time, I can, stitch on get the ornaments going. That's the plan. Now, we all know what happens to plans. Plans change. We'll see. All right, last on the list of goodies to talk about are the goodies I have to talk about. These are items that are new to me. The most important one, and the one I'm super stoked about, is that a wonderful stitchy friend sent me Nora Corbett, and this is her poppy chart of the flower fairies. And that's probably not their true name of the design group, but they are flower fairies. And yeah, it's just, Pixie Couture, silly me. Anyway, this is a wonderful chart. I've always liked this chart. I have not been able to obtain it for myself, but I like the simplicity of it. It's classic Nora Corbett. She's got that dress that looks so fluid and beautiful because of the way she works with the DMC colors. And I think I could still get a bead pack for this, which is wonderful. The good news is I am going to start this on Christmas Eve, so I will do this before the end of the year. But I am just so thankful to my friend. I didn't get permission to say who she is, but I'm really very thankful that she shared this with me, and I think that I will really enjoy stitching it. And this is another one that I would like to start and finish fairly quickly. I'm going to try and go steadily on it because these pixies are not as large as the full-blown Mirabilias. They tend to have a little bit more simplicity to them in terms of the number of colors, the overall size of the piece. So that's the nice thing about it is I have the first one of these I did was Holly, and it really went fairly quickly. And they're the way the stitching is laid out, it's not super confetti heavy or anything, and so they go fairly quickly. And I stitch mine on 36 count fabric, so sometimes I have to finesse the beads a little bit, but that's my preferred, is to go words are difficult. One floss thread over either the 2 linen threads, or I don't think I've done any of my Nora Corbett's on Ada. I think I've done pretty much all linen, but 36 count because that's my preferred. Anyway, so to my friend, you know who you are. Thank you very much for sharing this with me, and I will pass it on to another Nora Corbett stitcher that I know will be excited to have it as soon as I'm finished. That's another reason I want to get it done, because I want to stitch it, enjoy it, and give somebody else a chance who hasn't been able to get their hands on this out-of-print chart. I want to give someone else a chance to also stitch it. So that's my goal. So that's my super fun acquisition that I'm very, very happy with. Now, I did purchase, when it came out, at last we have the Autumn Moon, which is the 4th and I think final in the series of these Plum Street charts. There was spring moon, summer moon, winter moon, and now autumn moon. And I have all of the charts. I think I have summer. I have all of the charts. I have not started them, but I just wanted to have all of them. And again, I'll do a similar thing with this, try to stitch them all on the same size of fabric so that if I want to swap them out, I can. Although more likely on this one, I think I would be likely to try and stitch them all the same size, and so that they could hang together either vertically, horizontally, or in a 4 square pattern. But because these charts are all so cute, and they each feature a house, they each feature a rabbit, and then there's some other little things going on. So I really, really am excited to finally start that series. I thought about starting them on first day of spring, first day of winter, yada yada. We'll see. Like I say, 26 is all up in the air for me. I am focused on still moving through older whips. Wow, I really am having trouble with the English language today. Okay, really, each one of, oh gosh, my brain. We're going to skip it. We're going to just skip that. The other things I got, more fun stuff. Fabric. I went to Lindy Stitches and got 40 count Cocoa by Weeks Dye Works. So I just really wanted something, especially with all those ornaments I'm planning on stitching. This is a wonderful color for anything that has snow or white stitching on it. And then I also got some lovely 36 count Sandcastle from Fox and Rabbit. You can't go wrong with Fox and Rabbit linen. It's just always a wonderful hand. Bren does such a good job, and this is such a great neutral to do any kind of stitching on, any kind of design. Colors are going to work pretty well on these, so I'm super happy. And that, as they say, is that. I think I'd better say goodbye before I completely lose the ability to speak, because boy, oh boy, did I take a turn there for a minute. So yeah, I hope you're all having a wonderful December. I'm watching a lot of Flosstube. I'm watching some Flossmas, which I think is wonderful. I will not be filming any Flossmas videos because I've got my hands full with other things. And gosh, so many people do it so well. I'm going to just stay in my lane and talk about my stitching and the things that I do well in my own way. So yeah, I just love watching the Flossmas though, and seeing people's Advent stitching boxes and that kind of stuff. That's wonderful. This was the first year I didn't do the Modern Folk Embroidery one in a number of years, and I felt a little bit sad to have not signed up for it, but there's just been going on so much in my world this year that I needed to step back, focus on what I had in front of me to work on, and not dive quite headlong into another holiday sale. I knew December was going to be a busy month for me, so here we are. That's it. That's all there is. I will see you next time. Hopefully that's going to be later this month. It might not be until January. We'll see what's going on, and I'm not sure whether it will be with a full tilt whip parade or whether it'll just be a catch-up video at the end of this month and then whip parade in January. I can't promise anything, because surely I would be wrong. I would be wrong every time I say I know definitively what's going to happen. It doesn't. So we're just going to hold off on that. I want to thank you for stopping by. I hope that you'll leave a comment. Tell me what you're stitching on this December, or tell me what your goals are for stitching in 2026, because it's that time we're starting to think about those things. Anyway, thank you very much, and I will see you next time.